So, another random episode. Anytime I say random, it just means I didn't plan it. I wasn't trying to record it. It just sort of happens. I don't necessarily have a subject line. Just sort of expressing whatever seems to be at the subconscious, not necessarily my conscious, because it's not planned. I didn't consciously plan it. So, yeah, basically, I know so far I've learned not to say what I'm going to do, since it's not always guaranteed. Many times I was like, oh, I'm going to end this podcast. But then God pushed me to keep recording more episodes, even though sadly I didn't get to the full intention, which was right, to do the proof series, uploading a lot of episodes where I talk about the Bible and the Quran and really show you a lot of the wisdoms God taught me, how these two books are His and how they're connected, and we can prove that it's from one God and it's corrupted and His identity is not Jesus, and all the ways that we can prove that they are corrupted, right? Since the two groups that follow these two religions don't like to admit that they're corrupted, but only the other one might say that to the other. Like that, I really wanted to share a lot of wisdom, but God understands, you know, my true desires, my true intention, that that's something I wanted to do in a small encryption style rather than a heavy, thorough way of giving knowledge, right? Because that's something only I could do in the future when my life becomes normal to some degree, which you could say technically it was around 2018 and prior. But 2019, which is when COVID started, till now, you know, this weird witchcraft of gang stalking and other types of witchcraft that caused demons to just follow me around all day. Extremely creepy, weird, psychopathic behaviors, and humans always bothering me everywhere I go, even if they're not bothering me directly, right, like approaching you. They're causing my heart and my body a lot of stress, a lot of pain, because they're using witchcraft. They could just be outside on a phone call, but there's witchcraft being done as they're on that phone call. So I'm going to get constant intrusive thoughts about why they're outside. Why? You get me? Something's trying to make me aware that it's not a normal person on a phone call. Because then how could they torture me psychologically or bother me as a human if I don't know? Because the behavior is covert mostly in gang stalking. So they have to tell me that that human is actually harassing me and they're not actually on a phone call. So then that starts to cause you anxiety. People on a phone call. Get it? It's something normal. They're going to do that so that you feel isolated. You're the only one who knows you're being tortured by that. But everyone walking by, if, right, let's say they're not part of the gang stalkers, doesn't think that person's bothering you. So it's a psychological way to destroy and control someone's body, their mind, and their life. So the way they obviously would control your body is you're going to constantly restrict your heart, you know, due to the stress, and you might actually develop heart problems, breathing problems like that. You might not eat very well like that. And the mind would be obviously all the thoughts, all the voices, all the extreme narrations. There's like long dialogue telling me what they feel, what they think. It's not actually a demon anymore. And it's not, that's what I learned today. It's not even the demon anymore. Because I always tell you guys, these are demons, right? No, it's actually a witchcraft. The witchcraft is acting as if it's a living person or a living being. It is acting like a living thing. Someone just walks by really fast by me and it projects a thought to me. It's actually a voice I hear. And it tells me what their intention is. And then instantly the senses and the nerves of the body just go up in fear. They didn't do anything. They just walked by. So a religious person would understand this. Someone who's not necessarily understands what witchcraft is would be like, prove it to me more. They'd be sort of uncomfortable. But people who understand or at least believe that dark powers are out there, right? Like witchcraft or spells, or they wouldn't be like, I don't know what you're talking about. They would understand what I'm saying, because that's what power means. Power means power. Get it? I can cause you a feeling, a reaction, a situation that a physical thing cannot cause you. You agree? It's just a human. They're not God. They can't cause you fear. They just can do bad behavior. Okay. But if these humans are not necessarily always doing that behavior, right? They're not necessarily trying to bother you. which could, right, cause natural anxiety. But instead, I just told you they're on a phone call and they're causing me intense problems in my heart and my ears and my brain. Then that's power, correct? Because they're using witchcraft to make my body react like that to something that naturally does not cause that reaction. So therefore, they're attacking me, get it? Spiritually. And they think they're going to get away with it. They think we can get this person to get sick because there's no one who's going to stop us. No one knows we're targeting them. So finally, I was able to remove power from these demons today by seeing this is witchcraft and no longer how my mind, due to the thoughts, were trying to portray it to me. I didn't do that to myself. The thoughts were saying that to me. The voices were saying that to me, which is saying that, get it, that they're a demon and they're trying to bother me. They was telling me what their intention is. But you realize, wait a minute, even the demon doesn't know what it's doing. It's like they got into some water and bathed in it, but instead of water, it's witchcraft. It's like the demon is simply bathing in witchcraft. They did something to themselves. They poured it on themselves, and now they become whatever that witchcraft was created by God. So really, it's God's power that's hurting me. Get it? It's not them, a living being. And they want you to think they, right, a living being, a creation, they want you to think that they caused you that sensation, that blah, blah, blah. So that then you actually give them power and dominance. You actually think demons caused me to feel. No, they didn't. Because I right now can become an evil person and learn how to do witchcraft. I can do witchcraft. So it's not me. Therefore, it's not them with the power. The power, right, the actual witchcraft is the one causing the problem, correct? Okay, so who created that? God did. So who's dominant? Who's powerful? God is, not these demons who follow me. So I was able to take their power away from them today by seeing that whatever's hurting my body, whatever's hurting my senses, whatever's causing me repeated cycles of poverty or rejection or harassment or accusations, and it's the witchcraft. If God takes away the witchcraft, these demons can sit there all day. They can't do anything. So you're not the one with the power, correct? Which then explains why they were in my life all my life, ever since before birth. But they didn't have these powers over my life. As a 10-year-old, these psycho humans who are possessed, these, I just said that word psycho, and one of them just turned around with their neck, like as if you're talking directly about them, when I'm not even looking at them. Get it? The witchcraft makes them turn around their neck like that. So you actually think it's the human who did that, and you might sort of react and get mad and attack them, and that's all it wants. She doesn't know that her neck was just turned unconsciously like that by the witchcraft done to her. So they're crazy. They're crazy. They don't have power over their life. They're not like normal people who are possessed, who obviously have power over their body, what they do every day. These ones have no control. Witchcraft is just done to them by someone they don't even know, and they're randomly brought to a city to just bother someone like me that they don't even know. Are you powerful or weak? You're weak as hell because you don't have any self-control, correct? So they're very sick, obviously, usually extremely mentally ill and extremely psychopathic and narcissistic, which is considered mental illness, but they don't like to say that. So, yeah, as I was saying, what was I talking about? There you go. Like, I defeated it. The way that human just now who was walking by, acting neutral, they're acting like they're just normal person walking by. But when I set their cycle, boom, they turn their neck directed in my direction, but they're not going to make eye contact with you. Before, I'd normally be like, that's either demon, right? I would never say human because I know who I am. I know humans can't treat me this way. I knew God was doing something to my life. And I never said it was demons either because that means I believe they're powerful over me. No, I always knew it was God doing it. But still, I treated the behavior as coming from the demon, right? Since they're the one possessing the human. But that's not my terminology, right? I'm saying that's what the thoughts were trying to get from whoever is being gangstocked. They want you to say a demon or a human is doing it because then that's giving them power, correct? We're a creation. We can't do anything. It's the witchcraft. Okay, so now that I said, right, witchcraft, now that neck turn seems literally like a cartoon. Get it? If I was to be some animator and I turned that cartoon in this angle or that angle, is that a conscious living being that turned their neck at me? No, it's not even real, right? Like that. You take the power away from the demon. it wants people to think that it is the one doing that to you. No, that's a witchcraft that just made that stranger turn in my direction when they can't even hear me. I have headphones on and I'm recording, and they're sort of a bit far away. That's what I'm saying, get it? It's witchcraft. They want you to think that demons are powerful and can hear you and do all that. No, they can't. They can only hear you at close range the way a human could. They're just invisible. So that another way they could hear you, right? They could watch you and you can't see them. Well, that's logical. We know they're invisible. But not that way, get it? Not when they're possessing someone. Those ones cannot hear you when they're far away from you. They're like a person. You get me? So they want to make you think the ones who are possessing people are having the ability of the one that maybe could be around me right now, but I can't see them. Correct? They want to make it seem like they're just created with powers that they don't have, to hear your thoughts, to hear this, to hear that. A lot of people believe that demons can hear their thoughts. No, they cannot. It's just that synchronization. The witchcraft makes their neck turn when I maybe do something that sort of makes it seem like I'm either talking about them or talking about a certain subject that sort of would make them uncomfortable. And then they want you to think that either that human or that demon looked at you in hatred and sort of acting dominant. That's a witchcraft. Get it? So I don't know how to explain, but I can take their power away now. I could care less that someone's possessed, walking around on their phone, just talking gibberish. Sometimes they're not even on a call with anybody. I can finally take that power away from them. You get me? Because the witchcraft wants you to think whoever it entered is somehow the conscious thing that did this and did that. No, God created that power. God made it so thorough and seem like a living thing. You get me? If I do A, it makes the human do B. You get me? It literally changes according to you. So that's why then it seems like a conscious living thing. That's just how God created the witchcraft. You get me? But if I observe, they have a cycle, they have a pattern, and then they go dead. They lose their battery. And the next few hours until night, until the next morning, is really just mental control, just thoughts. If you agree with them, if you believe them, if you give them power, if you don't do what you'd normally do in that situation, right? You wouldn't obviously look at people who are not looking at you, right? Like that. If you don't just act normal, then they can make it seem like they're still active and harassing you at a high level when they're not. So I wasn't trying to talk about this, but what that evil witchcraft made that human do and that demon do randomly, not accidentally, made me talk longer about this. But it's okay. At least I tell you what I learned as a solution to gang stalking. This now helped me to just go live my life. Stop fighting with something that I cannot control. It's a power. It's not a living being like a demon. You can control them. You can, right? Stop it. It's like a bully. Bully. But it wants you to think it's a demon. It wants you to think it's a human. So that you actually exactly engage it and fight with it and say things to it. Hey, why are you staring at me? That's maybe when I was younger. They were more conscious. They'd say sorry and get out of your way. But this is not the human anymore, nor is it the demon either. It's a witchcraft that's taking control over both of them. You know, it's like taking a drug and knowing it can destroy you. You took it, right? Obviously, you put that over yourself, right? Like some water you poured on yourself. But the consequence, the symptoms, in the weird way that you might start to scream and shout, is that you? No, right? That's just what the drug will do. So that's what witchcraft is like. It's like demons. They observe God's creation that's dark, right? Dark powers, bad powers that you cannot use. It's never okay. It's sinful because it's hurting others. They just observed it. What's this? Oh, it's called evil. Okay, well, it's called witchcraft. Let's touch it like that. So if you feel that it's too much, or it's hurting you, or it's causing you problems, or that someone actually died by suicide because of depression, which was caused by witchcraft as well, the demons always want to make it seem like they're powerful, that they caused someone to kill themselves. No, they didn't. The witchcraft did. Therefore, is a human weak? No, because that thing is actually power. Get it? So you just got defeated by God's power, not a demon. Because a demon is when they're just whispering to you. Muslims, Islam teaches you that demons whisper to your ears, and there's one demon with every human that's ever created by God. So from birth, there's a demon with you and there's an angel with you. if people who don't necessarily have this knowledge are out there, then they're going to call it intrusive thoughts. They're going to call it thoughts. They're going to call it voices. And then humans are going to use physical solutions, not spiritual. And they're just going to be like, oh, there's such a thing as mental illness. There's no such thing. If you knew the religious, spiritual side, you know that there's actually a species that's out there that's living, that's evil, and it's actually talking to your mind. And it's causing all mental illnesses, as you like to label it. And people who are not necessarily mentally ill, but you would say there's just negativity, just bad thoughts, then that's them too. They're talking to that person's mind too. But at a lower level, their power comes out to you as a thought. We all have thoughts, right? Okay. At a higher level, it comes out as a voice. Okay. And those people become delusional and sort of crazy. Okay. Then they say to them, well, you're probably mentally ill like that because they're possessed. But someone who's not possessed like me, all they can do is just send me thoughts. You know, it can seem like a voice at some point, but it's not the type of voice that someone we would label mentally ill has. It's not that type of voice, because that's big and annoying. For me, it's like a faint voice. It seems like a thought. You get me? I can still brush it off. It's not a big deal. But those people get that because they're possessed by actually the demon itself. So it's going to be louder to them because they're in their body. I'm not possessed, so it's just going to always be mental torture. I just get thoughts all day, constantly trying to make me aware that these humans are not normal, that they're harassing me. Because that's how you know that it doesn't have power over me. Why do you need to tell me that you're harassing me, that you're stalking me covertly? Because that means that you don't have the power to cause me anything unless I acknowledge you and mentally react to you, give you power, get angry, right? If I just ignore you, then my life actually is going to operate normally. I'm just going to keep being harassed by you. Yes, you're going to be everywhere I go, but I can still find good people, find a good life, blah, blah. I can still do what you would expect me to do and just live my life. And when God's ready to take away this witchcraft from me, then all these thoughts, right, all this bad energy, all this pain in my body because of the witchcraft, everything stops. These humans don't appear anymore. And if they live in that city normally or that environment, then they're just going to mind their business. They're not going to be controlled by the witchcraft to bother me. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it's like I have to wait for it to pass, then it loses its power. But if in those few years that the witchcraft is operating against you, that God doesn't stop it, if you give it power and pay attention to it and don't live your life, which it does do to people who are being gang stalked, they are just, you get me, just so stuck in the stress of being stalked covertly. And again, it becomes obvious at some point. I don't mean they stalk you in a way that's not obvious. I can easily go to the government right now and prove I'm being stalked. So it's not covert. I just mean covert in the sense that it's a demon. You get me? Like no one can tell it's a demon necessarily. So that's what I mean by covert. The demon is the one that's covert. It's the one hiding, right? It wants you to think it's a person. So, yeah, you're just going to ignore them and live your life. Yes, they're going to keep torturing you with noise and all these weird behaviors that a healthy person would never do. So that's why usually they use mentally ill humans. But they're just going to sit there in that table and constantly tap their table. But a normal person who's technically not mentally ill would never do that. They have a life. They're not going to sit at a table and tap their... You get me? That's weird. 2, the witchcraft makes that noise that normally would go to your subconscious, right? It's just environmental noises. You're not even going to hear that much. They're not slamming their table, right? There's a witchcraft that makes that noise very close to your ears. So that's why you guys might be like, well, just ignore their noise. If some strangers are harassing you, you can't ignore it because it's not you, the person who became sensitized. It's not you. God created us very strong as a human race. We're never forcing ourselves to be aware of something. We're never hurting ourselves. Witchcraft is the problem. Dark powers are the problem. It's putting that noise very close to your ear. But someone over there, that witchcraft is not done to them, right? They're not going to really hear that noise. So then, you get me, they want to portray you as mentally ill, which is what gang stalking is about. It wants to portray the victim as a mentally ill person. Because, get it? They're making noises and things that usually mentally ill people would be uncomfortable or hyper aware or delusional and they're crazy, right? They want to make it seem like you're having their type of symptoms. When no, you're not. These humans are actively staring at you, hitting their table in a system, in a sort of synchronized style. And if you, a third party, were to sit with me, you'd actually see it. They're intentionally tapping their table. Get it? If you're like, that's not enough, let's maybe find a better way to prove it. Okay, just walk with me. You're going to see they're going to constantly approach me, constantly drive towards me, constantly say insults and nasty, perverted things. Then when I go to a store, they're going to try to sabotage my transaction. Then when I go to a job, they're going to physically approach me and lie about me. Come on, it's easy to prove something is bothering you, and strangers are therefore being criminal around you, because it's not just that little tapping noise. You get me? They just do that when everyone's quiet and they're in an environment that it's inappropriate maybe to approach people. They're scared of maybe getting in trouble. Okay, but when they feel confident, usually when there's a lot of them in that environment, then they actually act like criminals. They act like stalkers. So a human would never fail to prove that strangers are actually stalking them. You get me? Because they at some point get to a point, and they usually start off with this at the beginning anyway, of actually acting criminal towards you. But then when you don't react to that, right, you don't hit that customer, you don't hit that stranger, when they don't get what they want, right, which they want you to go to jail, they want to accuse you of being mentally ill by making it seem like they didn't harass you and you were not acting in self-defense. They want to make it seem like you just hit some random person, which something only a mentally ill person would do, right? They just react too extremely to something that people could say, ignore it, right? That's just rude behavior, just ignore it. A healthy person will be like, whatever. A mental ill person might be violent, right? For no reason. So they want to, when maybe let's say a police arrive, they want to make it seem like they didn't do anything to you. They didn't lie about you maybe, or they didn't try to hit you. They want to act like you don't have any reason to do what you were doing in that situation. So then they want to, right, possess the cops. And the cops are not operating under that witchcraft. They're not normal anymore with you like they are with others. The witchcraft is going to make them just accuse you of mental illness. No one cares about the story that you're just like other citizens who use self-defense, that you were the victim. They're just going to lie about you, just like they lie about you at a job. And you're just going to randomly go to jail, randomly go to a mental hospital. Get it? Because the humans who are doing the gang stalking are mentally ill. They are criminals. They are very psychopathic, narcissistic, and perverted. So it's like they want to accuse you of their qualities. You get me? So it's very disgusting witchcraft. It's not happening to me, obviously. God just put me in it, so I know how it's affecting people who are actually being gang stalked. So that then I can one day understand what the solution is. It's not happening to me. So yeah, basically, I accidentally went too far with this. That's kind of what this witchcraft is trying to do. It's trying to accuse you of the qualities that are opposite of you. You might be like, why is it these qualities and not other qualities? Because the family that this person was born into is narcissistic and psychopathic. They are perverted, psychopathic, narcissistic, which means mentally ill. And they might have other sort of mental illnesses too, like bipolar, schizophrenia, and they're possessed by demons, and that's the cause of it. People just don't know that's the cause. They just see the sort of behavior and they call it bipolar, for example. And they're criminals, right? But they're hiding it. They're covert criminals. No one knows. They're like these ones who bother me every day. You get me? Who try to assault me, drive towards me. Okay, but they go to jail for that. Did a cop see them? No, right? So it's like that kind of criminal. They do crime every day, but they didn't get convicted or exposed. So God put me in a family that has these qualities. They're mentally ill too. There was actually one sibling they had that was actually extremely mentally ill, like what you think mentally ill is. Someone crazy that actually runs away and stuff. They actually had a kid like that in their family. She was this older female. Never even saw her because I don't know, they isolated her. And they have too many kids too because they're filthy and perverted and backwards. God did not create humans to have too many kids. That's backwardness. So they had all the weird qualities of backwardness or weirdness or immoralities you could imagine. Very sinful on the other side of religion. Things that don't make you evil but just outright you sinned. Well, these would be immoral, evil type of sins, right? Them being evil. But there are sins that are not evil, but they're sin, like sex outside of marriage. That family had that quality too. Their kids did that, even though they're Muslim, and that's a sin. So you get me? It's like families that have all these problems, all their kids, everyone grows up, becomes the same, which is very weird, right? You don't have some good and some bad. God puts one person in them that's the total opposite, which is, for example, me. So then the witchcraft that's naturally operating within their bloodline from the demons who naturally turned everyone to be that way, right? They made those people bad. That witchcraft, those demons do that witchcraft to you. That strangers who have similar qualities of that family stalk you, and they try to accuse you of the qualities of the family, which is the qualities of the stalkers too. Mentally ill, perverted, or criminal in some other way, and actually criminal, like a thief or whatever. And then the other one, what was the other one? Yeah, basically mentally ill, criminal, and pervert. It's just pervert is really hard to accuse someone. um, so they usually project it to you in thoughts. You might walk by someone and they're staring at you. They're perverted, they're nasty, but then they project it to you. You get me, as if you're somehow the pervert. It's really creepy. So God wants whoever's in this type of family, right, who's not like them, that he intentionally put in that family, because he normally doesn't do that. That's why people don't tell you they're being gang stalked, because it's rare. He only puts one or two people in these types of families who are under this type of witchcraft. So you can break their curse. You can be that different person and you pray and God releases you. So it's like you being free from the witchcraft, right? It's like breaks the generational curse like that. I don't know. I don't even know why God does this, but he just put me in it. Just like he put those people in it. But those people is actually happening to them. They're actually born to those families while I was put in it to see this power that demons have. That's simple. So it's not really happening to me. Um, so I'm not saying this is the last message. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to do in the future. And now I know it's actually a witchcraft that's trying to always make me say things that I might not necessarily mean, right? Such as always ending my podcast. Because it's witchcraft. It just means that day, that week, I got harassed too much. And they sent you witchcraft that sends you emotions of just, I want to not do this, I want to not do that, And then when you feel better, because it stopped, right? Then you naturally would go back to feeling like yourself. And now you're like, oh, I didn't really mean to end this. They just want to make you look strange. Or just someone that, obviously people are not going to think there's something wrong with you because they obviously are human. They can see why you're ending something and starting it or continuing it. They're human. They listen to you, right? They know you were stressed out and like that. But still, a healthy person would take their time, right? If they notice there's a pattern of that happening, and they wouldn't keep repeating the same mistake. Do you agree? They don't. But witchcraft is trying to prevent me from ever realizing that that pattern is out there and I should prevent it from taking over me again, making me just want to end the podcast. This podcast doesn't ever have to end. It will just transform into other things like books and all these other things, that God will just get me to use in the future to spread more of the wisdoms and things that he teaches me about, exposing the corruptions in his religion, which then obviously impacts all religions and the entire human race. It's just knowledge. It's just a shorter way I talk now when I'm sort of going through the time that I'm being taught things. I don't know everything. But one day this is going to stop. This gang stalking witchcraft is going to stop. My life is going to be free from this nonsense. And God will just let me be whatever my destiny is according to him, whoever I am that I don't know yet. I can speculate, but that's not healthy. And then one day people will finally get a better, bigger content, whether from me or someone else that he uses to help you. And okay, let me not go too far into this. See, it's happening again. The witchcraft is trying to make me forget. I don't want to go too far into this. I talk about this all the time on my podcast. You see how it tried to make me go too far into this subject? So I just realized it and I stopped myself. from talking. If I stop myself from the actual behavior I'm doing that moment, like walking, talking, that's how I can stop the witchcraft, trying to control what I do or say. You know, you're not going to just be like, hey, I feel like something's trying to push me to talk about something I didn't intend. That kind of conscious way that you recognize something's controlling you is not how you're going to be able to stop it, just so you know. Because it's just going to keep controlling you. You have to stop. Just stop whatever you're doing. If you're talking, then stop talking. Don't think as you're talking when your mind reminded you that, hey, something's making you forget what you really wanted to talk about. Don't think that you're just going to be able to switch what you were talking about in that moment that your mind made you aware of that. Because it's witchcraft, get it? It's power. It's going to keep controlling you until you pause. And when I didn't really think or know it was witchcraft or demons before, when I was younger, and these same crazy humans would approach and bother me every day in a criminal manner everywhere I went, the same solution is what I used. I would just pause, not respond, not react to anything they do, and they would just go away. They would just stop talking. They would just stop accusing me. They would just stop acting crazy. Now that I know it's witchcraft and not demons necessarily, and they're just being controlled by the witchcraft, I don't have to get angry about the stranger right now being made to come sit outside. As I record this, they're pretending to be a normal person, but they're actually listening and harassing me. Human doesn't necessarily know. You give it, they're possessed, but they're harassing me. Get it? They're actually a stalker. When I was younger, I'd get angry about that. Get it? That people are constantly being made to come outside every time you're outside. You can never be alone anywhere. They always have to come and be around you and listen and harass you. They just want to be around you. That's what a stalker is. They don't have to do something necessarily. So that's psychological control. That just the mere fact that they're outside when you're outside, you go somewhere, they go there, they want to use that to then make you so angry that you kill that person. So then they can accuse you of being mentally ill. Get it? Because only a mentally ill person would kill people for no reason. But you know that's a stalker. They're just covert. Get it? And they're covert so you can't prove it. So that then it's easy to accuse you of being the crazy one. Get it? But now that I see it as witchcraft, I don't have to care what the thoughts are saying. Oh, look, I'm bothering you. I'm stalking you. I'm a demon, blah, blah, blah. But you can't make me do anything. You can't make me get up. It's a public place. I can sit here and bother you. You get me? That nonsense doesn't have to control you now when you're like, wait a minute. Yeah, you're possessed. That's a demon stalking me. That's a bad human. Yeah, you're right. But wait a minute. That's not their natural power. That's a witchcraft that makes them identify me and follow me everywhere I go. Oh, is witchcraft a living thing? Does it have a consciousness to target me? Is it something that's actually trying to act dominant over me? No. So whatever it's possessing, human, demon, is not acting dominant over me, therefore. Because if they were, then they would come out without the witchcraft, correct? They would come and bother me without the witchcraft. They don't know me. The witchcraft makes them come outside and bother me. So it's not them, correct? I take the power away from them then that the witchcraft hopes you give them. And now you don't care that that stranger is sitting there, who's actually intentionally sitting there to stalk you. Get it? The way they want to appear to third parties, right, a complete bystander by minding their business, is the way you're going to treat them. And now they lose their power. So don't give power to any situation in your life and just pause, take a break. The amount of minutes, hours, or days needed for that break, don't be haste. Sometimes you know what you're going to do. You just think, why should I then pause and wait, right? But when you give yourself that time to pause, sometimes you'll realize it's not actually what you wanted to do. I know it's a strong feeling sometimes, because maybe it's the right thing to do. And you think, well, it's not going to probably change even if I think about it. Because in this situation, this is what a human is always supposed to do. Yeah, but the way you would do it, you need to take your time because you're an individual. You want to do it the way you would do it, your personality, your level of morality. You want to do it your way. I'm just going to ignore this nonsense the way I used to when I was young, because today I finally learned their pattern, their psychology, and their cycle, and how to just technically destroy them then. How they were sort of hurting my mind all this time with just the way they portray everything to your mind. You get me? Yes, they're harassing you, but the way they put thoughts into your mind, hyper awareness, is how they actually really control you. Because most of the things they do is not even direct. You can just ignore it. But the witchcraft is forcing you to be aware of it. Putting emotions of anger and rage into your body that you don't even feel. And these are the same crazy humans that were possessed that I saw before. But back then, there was no witchcraft on my mind. I could just ignore them and enjoy my life. It's only when they approach me acting criminal that then, right, you have to be like, what the hell is this thing? But you could ignore the other ones who are roaming around all day, who are also stalking me. I just didn't know. So the witchcraft is basically trying to say, hey, these other humans, yeah, they're not normal people. They're possessed to stalk you too. So there you go. The person then just is overwhelmed with that. So you might also have problems in your life that were always there. Okay, but they didn't consume you until you realized they were there, correct? Something happened and you became way too aware of them. You know what to do. Just stop that. Realize there's technically not too late, unless it's something that has to do with age. Like, let's say you're 50 years old. I don't necessarily think you're going to maybe do certain careers, right? Because maybe they require that sort of health or that sort of youthfulness, maybe. But if it's jobs anyone can do, for example, or knowledge anyone can learn like that, you know you're not limited. This is how you know something is witchcraft, even if you don't necessarily know what witchcraft is. The stranger sitting outside right now, who's actually a demon possessing them, harassing me, just listening to me, I just tilted my body a little bit away and I feel better. I'm not getting thoughts about them. I'm not having that energy attacking my heart. That's it. That's how you know it's witchcraft and not necessarily a demon possessing someone and harassing you. That just makes you a human, if you were in my situation, hyper aware of them. You get me? Because you could just ignore them. So demons really don't have power just by being demons. It's like you and I. It's only if you and I were to become evil and put our hands on a witchcraft that then, okay, now we did something bad to someone's life. They're the same. So they're always using those powers, like witchcraft. But simply a demon coming here, possessing someone and sitting there, is not going to make you a human hyper aware of their energy. You get me? That's how God allows us to live every day, and people are possessed, and you guys are not aware of each other the way I'm aware of these people who are possessed, because even I wouldn't be aware of them if the witchcraft wasn't forcing that on my mind to be aware of them. Because witchcraft just means I see this dark energy, and it sort of has emotions around it. You're like, okay, it's energy. Maybe you're getting thoughts making you aware of the energy, but what type of emotion is around that energy? Anger, rage. Because it wants you to do that, get it? It wants you to become that emotion and just attack that person sitting there. You get me? That's what gang stalking is. These people are stalking us. These people are harassing us. But it's covert. They're just going to walk by. They're just going to sit there. And that is when they really put the witchcraft on you of extreme rage, because they actually want you to confront them and attack them. But other times, maybe when they actually approach you and they actually try to act criminal, right, in a way that people would understand, it's going to be lower level of that witchcraft. It's crazy. So other people are the same. I don't want you to be like, well, your situation is not really relative to me. Why are you telling me this? It is. Majority of the human race tells you they have problems with mental health. There's no such thing as mental illness or mental health. It's just witchcraft. It causes depression. It causes anxiety. It causes voices. It causes all these things. It causes intrusive thoughts. It causes flashbacks about a traumatic situation, you know? So you also need to do the same thing around whatever bad emotions and thoughts are not yours, but keep coming to you, making you feel bad. Just turn away from it. Again, do the spiritual part, do the actual solution, right? Pray to God that He delivers you and frees you from it. But until then, right, just like until I also have to be free from this witchcraft that makes demons stalk me like a prophet, even though I'm not a prophet. Extreme power. They don't have this over anyone else. You might be like, but you said they gang stalk other people. That's one witchcraft. There's other witchcrafts, get it? There's other witchcrafts they use to terrorize my life. So there's a multitude. So they're actually persecuting me, get it? It's ever since birth. So it's just like the only thing that would happen to a prophet. Because I came to expose that religion is corrupted, I have a similar mission as they do. Sadly, I'm doomed. I'm going to have sort of like their life. But I know I'm going to be free from it. I always tell God, they came into my life. That means they have to leave. Meaning like the gang stalking sort of witchcraft. It started 2019 technically. You get me? Even though they were always there. They were always possessing strangers and monitoring my life and harassing me. It wasn't direct necessarily. That sort of direct, right? Started 2015. And then 2019 got worse. Even though 2008 also became a bit direct. It's like every few years they just get worse, you know? But you get what I mean. It has to stop. All of it has to stop. Because I also have the same rights as you. I have the right to live my life. It has to stop. Even if you don't, so this is my second then advice that I would connect to you. Also do the same for yourself. Remind yourself whatever problem you have also has to end, has to stop, has to go away. It can't be there forever. Only you can give it power to either make it seem like it's still there even when it left. There are times that these humans who are possessed leave the environment. But the thoughts are attacking my mind, making me hyper aware of them, you know? And even though they left, my brain necessarily is not going to notice that. There's no peace that helps you know people have left an environment that maybe was crowded. You know what I mean? Because the witchcraft is just bad energy. Just think of it as dark energy that's sort of on your chest usually. It's like a brick. It's heaviness. Makes you breathe deeply all the time. That can still be there even when they left. Because the thoughts can still be there. Just making it seem like they're there. Okay, so sometimes you can turn away from your problems as you pray to God and He's helping you and you're doing your part that I said earlier, just living your life. Just live your life. Just do your part to go and be the person you'd be without these problems that you have. Just like without me. These problems I have, which is these lunatic humans who are possessed, these demons having God's permission to just persecute and stalk me every day. Just they're always in my face. It was in my environment. You know? Same behavior over and over and over again. So it obviously, it's not something you can just be like, whatever, I'll ignore them. How can you ignore something that's always happening, the exact same order, in the exact same way, in every single day? Correct? But can I give it new definition? Can I change it? I'm sitting at a bench right now, and they're doing the same thing they always do, that theater. They're trying to intimidate you with police. So they just made someone do something in the road, and a cop stops them right in front of me. Every day they're going to do that. They're going to always bring ambulance and fire and police. And God has actually showed it to me. They're not even creating a situation to call those types of employees. I've seen it with my own eyes. They're just making that siren intentionally. So I can one day report them to the city and show them that these humans, these employees were abusing their jobs and their system. But they were just blowing the horns, running around a city with ambulance and fire trucks, and there's actually no fire. It's only when I feel a certain way, a certain emotion. I'm not affected by the other type of human beings who are possessed. These ones just appear. It usually happens when I'm angry and I'm talking to God, like I complain to him and stuff. Boom, they appear. Because they want to intimidate you. They want you to think if you complain to God, that somehow then they're going to actually attack you all of a sudden. Because get it? They want you to not complain to God. Because he might actually, even though he gave them this power, what if he changes his mind and just says, you're right. Okay, and he tells them to get out of my way. He just takes all their power away because of the amount of stress, the amount of pain I was feeling that I told him. God is merciful, right? So then that also teaches me what demons are scared of. How we express ourselves to God. If we complain to him enough, he can just remove something from your life that maybe he was planning to not take out of your way earlier. Because these demons freak out when I complain about them. They freak out. The whole city goes loud and crazy. Ambulance, fire, police. Woo, it's just like, what the hell just happened? You think you're in a movie. That's how you know it's fake. You get me? Because imagine you're a stranger. I ask you to follow me for a few days. Based on how I feel. Not things, right, that have nothing to do with me. But based on how me, a stranger, just a random person, what I feel. Imagine certain events happening. Wouldn't you believe it then is following me around, is doing that because of me? You get me? Because how can a fire happen every time I'm angry? That's not rational. What does me being angry have to do with a fire? Isn't that something only God knows I'm doing? I'm only talking to him in my mind or whispering, right? So how can then that moment I'm angry and I'm complaining to God, something external that can only happen from external things, right? Cannot be connected to me when I feel that way all the time. It happens randomly, right? And by coincidence, how can it usually come out that moment all of a sudden? So then it's following me around. That's not a real fire. That's not a real situation. Either they're creating the situation to attack your time, because they want to distract you. That's why they're using these types of government workers. Get it? Loud noises they usually use, like sirens, because it's loud. They want to distract you from talking to God. All of a sudden you might be like, God, look, they're harassing me again. You forgot to keep talking to him about the other way you were complaining about them. Don't focus on these ones. You might be like, you told us that witchcraft is something that makes you talk too much about something you didn't originally want. I feel like right now you're going off topic. No, I'm not. I know what I'm doing. My mind keeps reminding me. My subconscious mind, my higher self reminds me. And I console myself. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. It's okay. I'm going to connect this to something, which is the advice I'm giving you. I didn't go off topic just now by talking about the situation demons are creating in front of me. I'm still advising you. I'm just using what they're doing still to give you wisdom. So, right, you might have a problem. You're praying about it. You're taking it to God. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and then living your life doing the best you can, pausing and giving yourself time to know what you want to do so you're not controlled by the emotions flowing through you, because they're not always yours, since there's witchcraft and intrusive thoughts and all that stuff. Okay. But then something like this might happen to you too, right? Some crazy behavior right now is intentionally being created by demons possessing these people, intentionally bringing a cop to the environment to just stop someone randomly like that. They're just trying to bother and intimidate me. Just trying to distract, waste my time. And you might be like, well, just ignore them. Who cares? There's witchcraft on it. Get it? It's not an actual normal cop. But they just somehow, they tricked him. They just made a bad human enter the road around my neighborhood. And he, right, just had no choice but to stop that human, because that human intentionally committed a crime right that moment he was driving. It's not like that. It's not like they're innocent or something. No, there's witchcraft on them. So even if I don't look at them, I can look away. It doesn't matter. The witchcraft is higher on humans like police, ambulance, fire, because the goal is to accuse you of these qualities of criminal or mental ill. So these humans usually arrest people who are like that, right? So the witchcraft is higher when they appear. It's much harder to look away and not feel that energy I told you that I don't feel anymore when I looked away from the other human who was possessed, when I looked away from them. I might forget that they're even there. But these vehicles, like police, ambulance, unless they leave the situation they're creating, The dark energy is just there because it's taking over the environment. It's too much witchcraft. So guess what I see right now? Extreme dark energy. And it's sort of in my ears to some degree, and I just see it in my heart's area. So that's how you know, right? Witchcraft, where it attacks. It attacks the senses and the heart section and the stomach section. If it was to ever affect the other parts of the body, like your legs, it might just jump or move, right? Sometimes that's why you flinch when a stranger passes you by and there was nothing scary about them moving. You know, like they didn't startle you or anything. You're like, what the hell? That's not a normal situation. I'd be startled. Because they're probably a demon that moment that was trying to get close to you. Boop, you just jump. Because your body's trying to protect you from something you can't see, but it's there. Isn't that what the body was supposed to do? Protect you, right? So it's like alerting you. God created it that way, obviously. The body's not protecting you. He gave it that quality, so he can protect you. So yeah, I'll connect this to wisdom then. You're trying to ignore the useless stuff trying to control your life, right? That you're trying to ignore and you're trying to live the way you're supposed to live. Fixing the problems, but enjoying your life and living your life and going forward with whatever naturally you would have done if that problem wasn't controlling you mentally. Okay, and then the problem might get in your face. Do you agree? Something could happen that gets in your face because it wants attention again. So the same thing is happening to me right now. I'm just ignoring these humans who are possessed, these demons technically, and they're intentionally getting in my face. Only the direction I'm facing, they bring a cop to stop somebody there, and they have extreme witchcraft, too many evil thoughts. Even though they're not bothering me and I didn't do anything that they would approach me, they're right stopping that person who did something on the road, still they're gonna send energy to me or witchcraft to me in a way that makes it seem like that cop is gonna somehow treat me like a criminal. Get it? It's so irrational. That's how you know thoughts are from demons and not necessarily something else, because it seems to have a goal. It seems to have an intention. They're sending us irrational, dumb thoughts. What does that situation have to do with me? Tell me. If I'm just sitting and minding my business, I'm on a bench, and someone driving commits a crime and the police stops them, what does that have to do with me? Is that a threat or a danger to me? No, right? But the witchcraft wants you to just be scared of these people who are cops. Just wants you to be afraid of a cop like a god. I don't mean, no, really, like afraid of them like a god or something. Because it wants you to react. It wants you to maybe do something, react, or talk out loud. Oh, what the hell is it? These gang stalkers, they're bothering me. Oh, it wants you to do something a healthy person like you would not do. And now maybe, right, they can possess the cop and make him approach you and be like, hey, why are you screaming all of a sudden? There you go. Something technically a mentally ill person would do, right? For no reason. But you have a reason, obviously. Maybe you're just talking to God. But in that situation, you wouldn't. You're in public, right? But they're putting the witchcraft on you that puts that type of desire that wants to do that come out of you right in the moment that it doesn't help you. A cop is there. And they usually would think someone's mentally ill if someone does that. And that's another way then they hope to control you more. You get me? It's the most disgusting witchcraft I've ever seen. It's so irritating. And they're just there for a long time. They don't stop people and leave according to the amount that a normal cop stops you and gives you a ticket or whatever. They just sit there. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Because they want your subconscious mind to be like, you're right, why are they there for so long? And you look over there, you go over there. And now they're going to start to act like normal people. Hey, hello, how are you? They're going to start to act like they're nice to each other or something. And they're just going to finish their business. And now you're thinking, well, that's not a big deal. What did the person do wrong? You gave them power according to them. You looked. You paid attention. Because I just told you, does that situation have anything to do with me? No. So why would I go and look over there and see why they're not leaving? They're not leaving. They're not doing anything because it's not a real normal situation. A cop is stopping someone. It's demonic. It's witchcraft. A demon is possessing both of them. So it doesn't have to follow rules. It doesn't have to get out of the car and actually talk to the person and be like, hey, you did this just 5 minutes ago, so I stopped you. They don't have to do anything. They can just sit in the car and do nothing and just simply stand in that street for hours. That's what I mean. It's not real. This is the most dumbest witchcraft on the face of the earth. You're the only one who's thinking and seeing that, because other people are possessed when you're being gang stalked. So they're not going to be like that too. They're not going to recognize that cop is strange because they're possessed too. So only you could. right? So then you're going to maybe approach or look at them and be like, what are they doing? And now they're going to project even more fearful thoughts to you that maybe they're going to bother you, they're going to arrest you. Something irrational. Looking at them is not going to arrest you. It's just mental control. They want you to waste your energy trying to figure out why they're not leaving. They just like to linger because the goal is not to come there and just harass you. The goal is to get your attention. So since if they really do come there, they stop them, they give them a ticket and they say, okay, bye. That would not obviously get your attention, right? Because you can just ignore that as a normal situation. But if they linger and act in a way that's not rational, you're human, you're going to be like, what the hell? And you're going to look. That gives them power all of a sudden. They don't leave. And they'll repeat this incident more now. So it's the same then for you, right? You're trying to run away from certain problems or sin, or you're trying to change your life. But it might come in your face. And you, obviously, as a human, know to ignore it. And you know that part of you, right, a sort of higher self, that's sort of telling you what to do. It's just not like a voice, more like a gut. It's telling you, right, because you don't have a voice. It's telling you, don't, right? Don't pay attention to this. You were ignoring it so far, so don't waste your energy. But then it's like a feeling, right? A strong sort of fearful feeling that's trying to actually dominate you and trying to get you to look at this thing that you were ignoring, correct? That's witchcraft. So don't ever think you're dumb or weak. That as a human you think you have that quality, right? That it's so hard for you to ignore things that you're trying to leave or give up. But there's this sort of strong emotion trying to force you to go back to it like an addiction. Don't think that you were created by God as stupid or weak and that addiction or whatever is stronger than you, or that fear of something is stronger than you. No, it's not a feeling. Get it? It's not a natural feeling that comes out when we ignore something that wants our attention, just the way our brain might react to anxiety. That's sort of anxiety. That's the one God created, and it'll just leave you. If you don't give power to it, it goes away. When you're like, it's trying to force me to pay attention to this problem, and I'm not the one giving it power. How is it controlling me? It's witchcraft. And you can tell it's witchcraft because your brain feels clouded. My ears right now and my brain feels like there's this sort of cover on it, like a black cloth. Just cover my brain and ears with it. Just close my ears with your hands or something. That's how I feel right now. I can't feel my own thoughts and feelings until this police leave. The witchcraft leaves too. And now that the witchcraft left, my brain becomes clear. So I'm not fighting with demons. I'm not fighting with evil, lunatic humans. I'm dealing with witchcraft. So then if I tell myself, hey, that's witchcraft, then my ears sort of almost become clear. You get me? When I identify the big elephant, right, what the hell it actually is, and not what it wants me to think, some sort of living being that has power, and look what I'm making you feel, I'm so strong, you can't get rid of me. But instead I actually give it the real identity. It's a power, it's not a living thing. Because a living thing can never have power, correct? We're all creation, only God has power. And that's actually why you might react to it so much, and it can control you subconsciously and psychologically, because that's not true. Because you know in your conscience only God is powerful, even if you don't necessarily know that. Like you're not necessarily connected to a religion or God, the real one. You just know anything that's created, right? Like a living being, they're not powerful. So you're fighting with that. You're fighting with that sort of thought that makes anything seem powerful, like a human, like some sort of pervert or criminal or thief. You're fighting with it subconsciously when they pretend to be powerful. Okay, but then, or a problem. But then you don't understand why then it doesn't leave your mind. Right? You did your job. You took the power away from them. You told yourself it's not powerful. Then why doesn't it just leave your mind? Why is it sort of still in your head? Because it's not a living person. It's not a living species or thing. It's a power. It's heaviness. It's just darkness. It's just its job. Okay, so if you acknowledge the living thing that's not there, it's not a living thing, you're fighting with it. You're fighting with the wrong thing. So then it's not going to leave. But if you identify the big elephant, the real thing you're really fighting with, a witchcraft, for example, in my situation, and you're like, oh, that's witchcraft, that dark energy in that vehicle. That's not an actual cop who has that bad energy. It's not them. They don't even know what the hell they're doing. Now I feel better and safe and comfortable and know that that situation has nothing to do with me. You get me? The way a normal person would see themselves, that has nothing to do with them. My mind starts to see me like that. Oh, that has nothing to do with me. Why would I look at them? Why would I? But if I don't do that, and my brain just does, my brain just gets attacked by just the way that the witchcraft normally attacks you. It makes it seem like a demon or a human. Again, they're being used, but it's not them with that feeling and power. You get me? The witchcraft is causing that. Then guess what happens when you see it as a demon or human? And for you, it would be like in your situation, if you actually think a person is the one bothering you or like that, always know that darkness is bothering you. Then what's going to happen is the thoughts don't stop. They are trying to imply that they're, you get me, the one causing you these feelings or thoughts. You get me? So you're also going to struggle to get rid of your problem. You're trying to give up a sin, maybe like porn. Okay, the more you fight with it, the more the thoughts then come after you. Because it's not you, first of all, and two, it's not demons. It's witchcraft they're using to send you that strong, dark emotions and thoughts, telling you to go back and telling you you'll never succeed to give it up like that. Oh, but if you tell yourself, well, I know demons are behind evil and sin, it's them pulling me back, then you're going to unconsciously give power to the demons. And now, because you're fighting with them by giving it a power that it cannot have, the witchcraft is the one that's created like that by God. But instead, you're making it seem unconsciously without you knowing. You don't mean this, but it's just what the brain is doing because the witchcraft is doing that to you and you just don't know how to fight it. You're going to now unconsciously agree with the fact that a demon is pulling you to that sin. And now you're going to give demon the power, correct? And the more you fight with it, the more the demon doesn't lose that power. And you're thinking, what the hell? I tried to take the power away from the demon. Why doesn't it just leave me alone? Because you're fighting with the wrong elephant or just the wrong thing. The demon poured witchcraft on you or itself and is able to then project that strong emotion to you, that strong thought to you, controlling your brain and your ears with the sort of clouding. It's like covering your head or something. And all you're hearing is that. It's like a silent whisper or voice. You can't hear a voice. Like right now, I'm not hearing a voice, obviously. But it's like a silent thing. Like I know what it's telling me, but I'm not hearing a voice or a whisper or anything. I'm not hearing a thought either. So that's how you know that even emotions that are evil and bad and not ours is also coming from a thought. And that thought is just a voice. But it becomes a thought first when it goes through the brain, and then it becomes more like a feeling. So you get me? Demons send us thoughts, right? But whispering to us. Okay, but people then think the emotion is now maybe something else and not also from the demon talking to you. No, it's also talking to you. Because if you deep down observe that dark emotion, right? An emotion, something you don't think is from a thought, you're going to realize a whisper-like type of source is where it's coming from. It's telling you something. An emotion can't tell you something, right? It can't seem like it's constantly communicating with you. It'd be more like one boom, just one emotion, like maybe anxious, and then you're stuck there. Okay, but for me, I'm not really seeing that sort of emotion. It's more like something's telling me something, but I'm not hearing its voice and I'm not hearing a thought. So then what the hell is it? It's a witchcraft. It's hiding the fact that the witchcraft is also using thoughts or voices to send me that feeling. But it has the ability, because it's witchcraft, to hide the voice from me, to hide the thoughts from me. So you may not think a demon is attacking you. You might think an emotion is this time attacking you. So then what are you going to do? Fight with the emotion. And it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you tell yourself that's witchcraft, just witchcraft produces the type of thoughts and emotions that you technically look like you're feeling, then you identify the elephant in the room. Witchcraft, you get me? Something you don't need to fight. You might be like, why do you keep telling us witchcraft? How's this going to help me? Because it's not a living thing. Do you fight with things that are not living? No. So you already now took away its power as long as you acknowledge that it's not living. You see? I told you demons, I told you humans, the situations they're being made to do. I told you emotions, I told you thoughts, all this stuff, you humans deal with it too. Bad people, bad situations, thoughts, emotions, demons to some degree if you're conscious that that moment it's a demon. Fighting with all these things is never going to give you control over your life and yourself and your happiness, your mind. You get me? You're not going to feel peace during the storm. If you identify what the hell right? That sort of dark energy is that's attacking your life, that is witchcraft. Whether it's making you feel fear, anxious, angry, rage, violent, sort of like desire, right? Just boom, just beat someone up. This sort of weird urge to just go and do something like watch porn all day because maybe you're not married or whatever, or that would technically be religious people, and people who just go fornicate, they can still have that witchcraft done to them that makes them keep going back to porn. Things like that you would say humans sort of tell you something's pulling or controlling them, correct? Okay. Or just putting negativity into their body and mind, and they don't know how to necessarily get rid of it. And at some point, some of those humans would be those who tell you they're mentally ill, or those who are not necessarily considered mentally ill, but they have problems. You get me? Like sort of depression, like all these situations, every single scenario, as long as you're dealing with something bad, right? As long as you feel like you can't be authentic or yourself, or you can't get up and do what you need to do, anything that we would say is not joy, but it's bad, it's difficult, stress, it shouldn't be there, like that, is caused by these dark powers like witchcraft. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. So now you're like, wait a minute, witchcraft is not a living thing. I don't have to fight with it. I don't need to fight with that cop over there. I don't need to consciously or subconsciously fight with them mentally, right? By telling myself thoughts about them. I don't need to fight with their demon. I don't need to fight with anything. I just need to acknowledge what it is, and that's witchcraft. As long as I remind myself it's witchcraft. I'm not telling you to fight with the witchcraft. See, I'm telling you to just tell yourself it's a witchcraft. And now you're like, okay, I did that. Well, then what? At least the way that I see it, if you do it the way I want you to, you're going to realize it's not attacking you. What? You just told me it's attacking me. You just told me you right now are being harassed by that. I know. I just mean it's not attacking you, as in it's not personal, correct? All of us, the entire species will have demons bother us, correct? Witchcraft being sent to us, correct? So that's what I mean. It's not you. You are not the recipient of that witchcraft. It's just the consequence of being on this earth. God created evil. So that's what I mean. It's not for you. You don't pull it to your heart. Don't attach it to yourself. It's not your problem. You're not some weak little thing. You take the power away then from that sin that you want to give up, that bad quality, those lies in your head. If you're someone who's highly perverted, this is your fault, obviously. You chose to be perverted, but you can come back. And because you're extremely perverted, you're getting thoughts about LGBT nonsense, trying to tell you that's who you are. This is also the same. It's also witchcraft that was done to you. Whatever situation your problem is, even just something as normal and it's not evil, right? But it's a problem like procrastination. It doesn't matter. It's always witchcraft. That's always controlling us, the human race, and other powers that are not necessarily witchcraft, like maybe a curse. But technically a curse we even use. You get me? The curse is like saying you're going to always have this problem. Okay, but in order to cause you that same problem always, then they're actually going to use witchcraft. Witchcraft is always going to be involved at some point. That's their biggest source. They have many powers that God created, they didn't create it, that demons can use, right? But witchcraft seems to be like the first one. But we, as human beings, usually who study religion, we're mostly conscious of the curse, maybe, right? Curse means like it repeats. It's like a pattern. It's like a cycle. Like you're always losing your job. That's a curse, Okay, but so because you're aware of that, right? The sort of curse, right? The bigger power, you forget what the power is using to create the curse to keep repeating. Witchcraft. So right now I moved, right? I left that environment I was in. And if you were with me, you'd realize those demons are not leaving. That situation, even if you don't want to treat it as a demon, but a human, they're not leaving. A cop doesn't take that long to do whatever they stop that person for. Because the witchcraft, its job is to not leave until I leave. It wants to stay there for 2-3 hours. Whatever situation they created some accident in the road. There's some random vehicle for no reason just parking there. There's a cop stopping someone there. The normal time span that humans naturally take to do that behavior. This witchcraft, in order for you to be scared of normal things like that don't have any threat to you, right? They don't have anything to do with you. They're indirect harassment. In order for you to give it power that you shouldn't, right? In order for you to give it power, they're gonna Just do this one quality of making it longer in terms of how long it's in front of you. See, I didn't say it's just there. I said in front of you, correct? This whole time I use the fact that they're in front of me. They don't bring a cop or situation or accident or people acting like they're doing something bad. They don't do that behind or around my environment. It's in front of my face, in front of my view. See? I have no idea how I'm able to connect these sort of basic behaviors of gang stalking to life itself and give you so much wisdom. I didn't plan this, just so you know. I'm just talking. So wisdom is something that God gives you. Usually when you talk, that's how you learn what you know, right? If you're like, I'm going to teach people something, or you may not know you're actually good at it. So if you just start talking and recording something maybe, right? The brain is just going to naturally produce what you know at the subconscious. And you're going to be like, wait a minute. I just talked so in depth about something that I didn't personally plan the way I was explaining it. I didn't plan that. So how did I? You don't always know the knowledge God gave you. You may not even know you're good at something. So obviously I know I have this type of wisdom, the ability to take a situation and connect it to life, which then is like how you give wisdom to people, right? Because knowledge is like information. Wisdom is like the ability to take just a generic example and connect it to something bigger, like life itself, and derive some sort of bigger knowledge from it. So it becomes then wisdom, because you can apply it to yourself and use it to help yourself. I know I have that ability, but I didn't have this goal to explain this stuff to you this whole time. You might be like, why are you telling us this? I'm telling you because I don't want you to glorify me. I want you to know that this is from God. And I don't want you to feel like it's something you can always learn. You can't always learn this, you know, because you might actually strive to learn it. You can only learn to a certain degree, right? Just by maybe listening to someone like me the way I gave you this example, right? You can obviously learn if someone shows you an example, right? But you can't learn in that sense, because it's actually something God has to give the person. And it's not something like math that, right, he just taught human beings and they just have the ability to spread it, right? But wisdom is more like someone's higher understanding of knowledge like math, right? And maybe being able to connect a simple math equation to something else. Okay. Really, that bigger wisdom, that bigger, it's something God doesn't give everyone, is what I'm saying. So it's like, yes, everything good is from him, right? I just mean this is one of those things that he doesn't necessarily teach everyone, because it's a higher level of wisdom. You all have wisdom. So I'm not saying you're dumb. No, you all have wisdom. You're human beings. You all have the ability to take a situation and connect it to something else. I just mean, if you notice someone has a higher level than you, then don't be like, oh, you get me? Don't have qualities of envy or anything like that, and think that type of envy is healthy because you're desiring something good. So, you know? No, just simply know God is the one who gave that person that knowledge, that wisdom. Okay.